Hey, welcome to Enjoying Your Blended Family. We are so glad you're here on this Monday morning topic, which is a powerful one. This is probably one of the most powerful topics that we learned in our marriage, and we hear this really as a common thread for blended families. This is one of the main issues that you'll find whenever you do come together, not just as man and wife initially, but this can be a lingering thing that you'll see years into your marriage.
If you don't figure it out early on, it's never too late, because that's how it was for us. But figuring this out changes the game.
But it can also destroy the game if you don't figure it out. And with second marriages being such a high percentage of divorce rates, this is one of the main causes. This is one of the main roots for people giving up and calling it quits, throwing in the towel. So today we are talking about parenting on the same page, about coming together as a blended couple and now parenting your kids, whether you have one biological kid or multiple, or one step kid or multiple step kids, or a mixture of both. Any of these dynamics, you in a second marriage, for both of you, even if one of you's coming into this and this your first marriage, there's still power and learning in this. Anyone who's been remarried, you've already kind of had a way of doing things. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be powerful, so tune in. Man, can't wait for this. All right, so same page parenting. Whenever we're talking about this, as we said, this is one of the things that can destroy as a marriage quick.
But it can also do the opposite.
And that's the crazy cool thing about it.
If you get on the same page, but we go so long and just having so much conflict and fighting about things and thinking we lose hope in the fact that you can ever actually agree on these things, because so much time passes and you come up with these same battles over and over.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels like you're beating a dead horse, right? And to use that terminology. But what happens, we've talked on parenting styles before, and when you remarry, many of you may know, you've already established a way that you parent your child, or a way that you parent. And that was formed from the way you were raised, along with your previous marriage, and how the two of you had decided to raise your child, and now you're carrying all that into another marriage, and you get the same from the opposite side. And you're trying to learn how to parent together in a new way, into one that is that you both agree on. Now, what tends to happen is whenever you're both going at this and you've got your kids, a lot of times it's starting to create walls. You're not talking about it. You don't even know how to talk about it.
Yeah, and maybe you want to be on the same page, but then maybe you even think one thing, but then you see it affect your kid in a certain way, or you have outside sources, maybe your ex-spouse or your in-laws, someone speaking in on that, and you're like, okay, I want to, but I also want to make this person happy. And so just so many different thoughts go through your head. You do.
You got so many things, so many different dynamics that start playing into it. But what happens is you find yourself saying, I'm not getting it with my spouse. Me and my wife, we're not on the same page. We're not communicating.
That is what we hear so much. We're not on the same page. We're not on the same page. And it's like, okay,
and it starts bringing a lot of anger. It starts bringing a lot of frustration. It starts bringing a lot of division. Now these walls that, as a blended family, you already kind of have these walls of trust. And we use them as invisible walls, but it's these walls of trust that you're learning to trust each other. Your kids are learning to trust you as being a new parent figure in their life when they're battling a lot of other issues going on. They're battling their biological parent is still in the picture. Now you're having co-parenting, and then you're trying to figure out parenting with your new spouse. And so you got all these dynamics going on, and whenever we're thrown into it, let's face it, we're all amateurs at this. None of us are perfect. None of us are taught how to do this, how to communicate, unless you're going to college and you got a communication major. And even sometimes that, you're learning how to communicate in business and not in
relationships,
in personal relationships, because that's more intimate. And so now we're all trying to figure this out together, and we don't know to talk about it. We don't know how to talk about it. We don't know how to bring these issues up. And so a lot of times we're bringing them up in ways that make the other defensive, that make the other want to throw up fists. And now you're arguing about them, and it's turning into a fight. And then eventually you'll get over it. And then y'all come back together. Everything will be all lovey-dovey and oh, I love you so much. And then the same issue comes back up. And you're right back at it. And you're fighting. And you're getting frustrated. And whenever you're doing that as parents, it's spilling over into your kids. Now your kids are struggling because of it. Now they're getting mixed messages from the two of you. And it just leads to really negative effects in your family. Now, that's one way that us not parenting on the same page or coming together, that's one of the effects from that. The other effect is you're bottling it up. You're saying, okay, well, I know if we talk about this, it's going to be a fight. I know if I bring this up, it's just not going to get any resolve or resolution. So I'm just going to ignore it.
Suck it up, and just think you're actually doing a good thing because you're keeping the peace. But you're building up a lot of resentment and walls, like he was saying, because you can act like it's not bothering you on the outside, but when it bothers you, like it's getting to you.
It's just something that you can only bury for so long. And I like to refer to that as the Coke can method. It's like taking a Coke can and you're shaking it up and you're just constantly shaking it up. And what that's doing is building up that pressure to where eventually something's got to give. A little device can only take so much pressure before it explodes. And that's what we're doing on the inside of us. But while we're doing that, all it's doing is wreaking havoc into us personally. Yeah. It's affecting us personally, which is spilling over now into my marriage. Now I can't be the husband I need to be for her because I'm holding resentment and I'm holding anger and I'm holding these issues that we're not addressing because I don't know how to address them. And sometimes I don't even know that that's what it is. Now I'm just, it's like there's just something about you that I'm not liking right now. So
everything starts irritating you too once you get to that point.
And it does. And it's whenever you start seeing that, now you're looking at your spouse and you're seeing your spouse as an enemy. You're seeing your spouse as the other side. And every time that we're doing this in a marriage, is spilling over into our kids, and our kids are ultimately struggling with this as well. That's kind of the message that we're giving off, because it's kind of like this. You can always feel a vibe when you walk in a room. If someone's having a bad day, you can just tell it. You can sense it when you're around them. Whether they're trying to put on a smiling face and say, no, everything's good, you just know something's off. You can feel it. We have that human ability to feel each other's emotions. Even though we're trying to hide it, it's still there. And there's still that little something there that's missing or not right. And that's what starts happening in your household. And your kids are not dumb. They sense it. No matter what age, they're going to know if something's not right with mom. They're going to know if something's not right with dad. And they start feeling that, and it becomes pressure for them as well.
And that's if you're holding it in. But for a lot of us, we don't hold that part in, and they are hearing it because we're saying it out loud.
And then whenever they're hearing that, now that's how we're modeling marriage. And that's also the devastating things that we can do is now we're modeling to them, hey, whenever you got a disagreement, you're going to fight about it, and you're going to yell, you're going to go at each other, and there's no resolve. And so that's what we're portraying to our kids too. Either way is negative. We're getting negative results in our family. We're getting negative results in each other. None of us are feeling better. I've never blown up any time in my life and just felt good at the end of it.
No.
Seriously, when I think about it, I never felt good at the end of it. I felt
like in the moment, it feels like it's going to be so good to just let it all out. But then afterwards, there's that you just defeat. because you got nowhere with it.
Yeah, and so that's a lot of the problems that we see in a blended family. This is something that not only do we hear from everyone being one of the number one things that they're dealing with, that they're struggling with, but in our marriage too, this was for the first probably 3-4 years of our marriage, we were really struggling with.
Yeah, not even just like things that we would verbalize, but I just remember a time where I'm just gonna be real with you, okay? Like, I actually saw it as a competition. So he would be doing things his way, raising his daughter, and I would be doing things my way, raising my kids. And I'm like, oh, you just wait and see. Once they get a little older, we're going to see which one of us actually did a better job of parenting these kids, because we're going to see that your way of being a little harsh or a little too structured is going to turn them away, and watch mine where I'm being more flexible and loving. And, you know, and I mean, we each had our own faults and good things. But I really went through that mindset. I didn't ever verbalize that. At least I don't think I did. I never told you oh yeah, just wait and see, and my kids are going to turn out better than your kids.
We actually did have a little conversation about that.
Did we?
But that was after the fact. And it's like, well, we'll see who's right. Because we had this big battle of where Riley, Rain, and Devin, they were going to school. They were going to school in a different city. And mine was going to school in the city we were in. But we were living in the city that I had wanted to live in, because the city she grew up in, I had this negative thing about I'll never live there, and so, we already had this battle. Yeah, we already had this battle between where we wanted to live and stuff, even as we were coming together.
Oh yeah, so you were raising her. I do remember that conversation now. He had chose that, and I was very strong on that my kids were going to go through the school system that I went through, and his was the school system that he went through. And so, yeah, I do remember that. Well, we'll just wait and see how
who comes out better.
Jokes on us.
The truth is they all had issues, and
they all struggled with school, and they all changed homeschool, a smaller school,
There was and I think that's the funniest thing about this, okay? And we're just gonna, as we're being real and we're being honest.
I was debating pulling this out. I didn't know. I should tell this story.
Us as being parents, we want an easy button. We think there's one right way of doing things. Let me just hit that button and everything's going to be magical. And sometimes that's what we're looking for. And I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry to bust your bubble, there is no easy button. Mm-mm. Each one of our families have different dynamics, different structures, and there is no one easy way, rhyme, or reason of doing something that is going to be that magical fix. But there are things that we can do as parents that make it better. That as we continue doing little by little, we see big results. And so that's actually going to be next week's topic, because there is so much power in that. But yeah, as parents, we do. We try to look for the easy thing, and we think our way is the right way. And it's hard to compromise sometimes.
Yeah, and if you put in the work, though, on these problems, we've tried to figure out, okay, well, we need to be on the same page. This is for us, ourselves. And then for you that's listening as well, it's there's so many different problems and dynamics, like he's saying. There's so many, we could make a podcast on every single issue that comes up, and you might resolve that one thing and put in a system or whatever in place, and then another one and another one. So what we really wanted to share with you today is the process that we go through, and we can't explain the whole thing today in this podcast, but don't worry, we're not gonna leave you alone in the dark. But we looked through, what is it that we do that helps us get from the problem to a solution and a victory, where we're walking out on the other side and we both do feel good about it.
Yeah, and we had to come to the realization that this was such a big problem in our marriage that this was going to be one of the leading causes to break us up. To have another divorce on our record, to have our kids go through another divorce. We're dragging them through something else. And we knew that this was a problem. And so it was either, okay, we're either going to just allow that to happen and go into another mess, because let's face it, anytime there's a divorce, man, that's just, there's so much struggle that comes with that. And so we knew that, and we didn't want that for us. So we were like, okay, we got to figure this thing out, and we've got to start learning to work together. And once we realized, hey, you know what? You're not my enemy.
Yeah.
You are actually on my team.
We're on the same team. We want the same goal.
We do, and we want our family to thrive. We want our family to succeed. And it was whenever we came to that realization saying, you know what? I'm going to work at it. You're going to work at it. We're going to work together. And as we said before, it's so easy to start seeing the negative in your spouse. You know, especially once you start seeing one problem, now that's what you're looking for. But it wasn't until really God hit me over the side of the head and was like, you know what? I love her just as much as I love you. I hold her of the highest value just as much as I hold you at the highest value. Y'all are equal. You know, her way is not the wrong way, and your way is not the wrong way. You have to learn to work together and compromise and come together as a team, and then you come up with y'all's solution together. And that was powerful. That was powerful realization for me that, you know, it's like, okay, we do need to learn how to talk about this without it fighting or without us feeling like we got to hold it in. And it was once we learned that, once we started learning some processes and techniques to where we could do this and do it successfully, that we started seeing a total shift in our marriage. We started seeing a total shift in the way we handled things and how we moved forward parenting our kids. And now our kids weren't getting mixed signals. You know, we were together. We kind of knew what we were going to do before some of the issues happened. And it just brought such a new positive dynamic to our family and just really revolutionized us. And not only that, it brought me and her closer together. You know, it was one of those, instead of we were starting to pull apart, this one really drew us closer together to where now once we got on the same page, it was powerful. And just saying, it's not easy. You know, it's none of the things we do as parents are always easy. But when you put in the time and you continue learning different ways, different tools, different techniques, you see such good results from that. You know, it's like anything. It's like an athlete. An athlete doesn't get good by sitting on the couch. You know, an athlete only gets good by going to the gym and working out every day. And
he goes to the gym by being a part of something and like having someone help him. And that's what you have in your spouse as well. Like, you go and you try to do things on your own or you pull away from them, you can only see your perspective. But I think you told a story before, like where Michael Jordan or something, where he's going and he has a coach because that person's able to see things from a different point of view. They're able to see those weaknesses. They're able to encourage them. They have a different perspective that maybe you didn't think of because you're just so focused on what the problem is at hand and you can't see a solution. But when you bring both of your brains together, you can see things from another perspective. It really does help bring that unity in your family.
Yeah, and personality has so much to do with that. And it's learning your personality, it's learning your spouse's personality. That way you're knowing how to come together and talk about things. So, you know, there's power in that alone because myself, I'm very hard-headed. And, you know, it took me a while to realize that, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm hard-headed in a bad way. It's just I can be very directive, very determined. You know, I go on one path, and that's how I go. And I had to realize that there's a lot of strength to that, but there's a lot of weakness to that as well as far as trying to work with someone else. And so once I realized that within myself, I was able to harness that and use that to, you know, start working together with her more and know, okay, my way doesn't have to be the right way. Let's talk about this and look at it from multiple different ways. And I was more receptive of doing that because I know my tendency is, no, it's got to be my way. You know, and so once I learned to kind of break down that wall a little bit and say, you know, she's on my team. Let's come together and have a team meeting, you know, and let's look at this from a lot of different ways. And then we come out with our way that we both agree on. So, you know, it was a powerful process, brought us closer together. So the how.
Yeah, you ready to share with them the how?
So, yeah.
And this to me, I love it because it can go with anything that you're dealing with. Yeah. But when you have this struggle, and you probably can't do this right in the moment, I'll just say, and that's what I had to learn too, that not everything's an emergency. You don't have to make a big decision right now. just learn to step back. That's where my struggle was, where he mentioned, like, for him, he has the one way. Like, I just feel like everything had to be solved right now. So be able to step back from that moment of whatever the frustration is and think, okay, what is the problem? Like, why am I so mad right now? Why is this hurt my heart? Why is this triggering me to get so upset? And when I can start unfolding like what the problem is and being able to sit down with your spouse and share that, like if it's something that's even worth sharing, because sometimes you might unfold and be like, oh, and sorry ladies, I'm just going to put you out there. Oh, just on my period this week. This doesn't usually bother me. And I'm saying as a mother,
But guys, you never say that.
Don't
ever say, are you on your period, honey?
No, let her come to you. But there's some things, and that's how my kids they were out in the dark, because I would be okay with things 3 weeks out of the month. But there was a couple days in that month that all of a sudden what they did was frustrating the crap out of me, or something that he did would just make me so mad. So when you start like reflecting on things yourself personally, you can decide, like, is this a problem that's worth bringing to the table? And if you decide, yes, this is something that's ongoing, I'm triggered, this is something maybe from my past, there's all kinds of different reasons, and we will share with you ways to unpack all of that on another day. But once you figure that out and you bring that to the table, then you want to tell them.
Yeah, because that is so powerful. Normally it's these things that do bother you, there's normally a deeper cause of why it bothers you. So it's getting down to the why. And then determining, is that legit? Do we need to work up a problem, or is that something I can drop? Once you figure that out for yourself. But yeah, once you realize, hey, yeah, this is an issue for me. So first one is kind of doing that self-reflection within yourself of why this is a problem and why it's bothering me. And then now the second part, because there's 3 parts, but the second part is now it's coming to your spouse and presenting it to them. So, there's so much, we can't get into detail on everything in this one little small time process and podcast, right?
Yeah, we really try to keep these podcasts at 30 minutes, so you get a little snippet that you can go about your day with.
Yeah, so first is recognizing within yourself, is this really important? Do I need to bring it up? Drop it or bring it to the table? So next you're bringing it to the table. And then whenever you're bringing that to the table, it's knowing how to bring it to the table, because that's normally where we can get it wrong too, and then it leads into a fight. So there are certain ways, and it is that presenting it to where it's not on the defense. You're not putting your partner on the defense, but you're saying, listen, I really feel this way about this. Can we talk about it? Can maybe we talk through it and see, and then trying to figure, why is that important to me? And y'all start talking that intimate talk, like, oh, well, I didn't know that was an issue for you, and stuff like that. And then, it's on the table and you're talking through the problem. So that's kind of the next step. And timing is key. We can't say that enough. You can't bring that to your husband when he's like at the end of a football game.
During the football game.
During the football game.
Right when he walks
honey,
in the
we need
door.
to have a talk right now. And this is such serious talk. No, it is timing. And I use that lightheartedly, right? But timing is key whenever we do this. And we both got to be in the right frame of mind to be able to talk and have good results from that talk. So maybe it is saying, hey, this is a big issue to me. Can we plan a time to talk about that? What works for your schedule? When could we sit down and, to where we're not, having the kids running in and out, or, maybe we don't have pressure of work or other things coming up. So, that way you can both give it your full attention. One's not half in, half out. So communication is the second part, is really being able to communicate.
And then the last part is putting like a plan in place and like actually trying it out. Like you might come up with this idea, and when you're sitting there, just the two of you, for one, you're like, I didn't even think of that. So many things that I'm like, he'll be like, well, why didn't you think about doing it like this? And I'm like, I didn't even think about that. So it really does give you so much insight, and you can make this plan together. You can hold each other accountable, but then you put it in a place, you try it out. And if it works the first time, 2 thumbs up for you. High five.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, we did it.
Wow, way to go. You just solved a whole problem that quick. But it probably won't work, or it might not work yet. You might need to tweak some stuff. Just like anything, you have to maneuver things in a way like, okay, well, this part of that worked, but this part did not. So maybe next time we should try it like this.
Yeah, and it's really creating, just fine tuning what you both are coming to the table. Y'all have talked about, y'all have talked through it. Y'all say, okay, well, what's the best solution? How can we approach this with our kids, or how can you and I, address this issue whenever it comes up with our kids and things, to where now you put this plan in action. And as she's saying, now you're tweaking it and you're just fine tuning it to the different situations. And that gets you on the same page. That way, whenever the problem arises with your biological kids, your step kids, y'all both know how you're going to handle it. You both know how you're going to act, and it's not catching you off guard or surprising you. But then whenever you do have a new situation come up, you take the same process and you do it again. And then for that problem, you're talking about it, coming up with a good solution. Why is it important? And then you're putting a plan in action. Then you're able to address that one. And that's kind of parenting on the same page. And as we're doing that, we're growing closer together. We're starting to become more like-minded, and then we're presenting that with our kids. Now our kids aren't getting mixed messages, to where if I approach mom, then I get away with this. If I approach stepdad, I get away with this, or stepmom, I get away with this, or and things like that. Now you've already kind of talked through some of these harder issues. But it is like I say that process. We call it the POV process, point of view process. But I wish we could really just go in depth. We are right now, I'm going to tell you, we are pre-selling a course. So this is, and we're calling it a course, but it's actually a playbook.
Yeah.
So kind of what we're talking about, if this has struck a chord, if you're like, oh man, I want to know more. I need this process. I need to learn more about this, and I want you to walk more in depth with me than just what you can do on a little podcast here, on a platform here. That's what this playbook is going to do. And we're pre-selling it right now by the time you hear this podcast, from October 15th to October 29th. And basically our heart behind this is to be able to serve you here, because we have heard so many parents saying, I want to be on the same page with my spouse. I want to be on the same page with my husband. I want to be on the same page with my wife. And so, we came together, and really everything that we've learned over our 15 years, it's like, okay, this is the process. And it's like, we do it now almost habit. And so it's being able to take away that core and saying, this is the process that has been so successful in our lives. This wasn't our process. This is what we gathered from all different types of sources and came together to where now we're doing it, without a hitch, and it works so well for us. And it's drawn us so much closer together. We parent so much more effectively because of it. But within this, we're going to walk all three phases of that out with you. We're going to just lay it all out in a video series, along with giving you downloads, printables, that you're able to take it and learn this process for you and your husband, and you and your wife, whatever your family dynamics. If you're doing this alone, this is powerful. This is a way that you can become that better parent and maybe present it in front of your husband or your wife and see better results from it. Or you're able to do it together as a couple and come together and say, you know what, let's do this together. And then you're walking this process through, and it's powerful, because by the end of it, our hearts is that you're getting to that end result. You are working together so much faster than what it took us to do. We want you to have that in your marriage. So we are pre-selling it. We're going to put the information in the bio link right now for this pre-sale. Basically what we're saying is this course is going to be ready to go on November 15th. We want to get this pre-sale in to show that, yes, people, that you're wanting this, that this is something that will benefit you and your family. If we can't serve you there, if we don't get the numbers to hit this pre-sale, then we're going to step back and we're going to say, okay, well, let's figure out another way that we can help you, because our hearts is to serve you. We're going to bring all this free information to you, but we also want to walk you through some of these processes that some of you really need. You want to grow. You want to learn more about. That way you can have better results in your marriage. You can have better results in your relationship with your kids. So that's what this is. this pre-sale right now, what we're doing is why we have it this time frame is because we're giving it to you half off. So, and this is going to be less than it would take for you to go out to lunch with your family. So, I mean, there's so much power to this. We want you to have it, but after the pre-sale, deal goes away. Now, with this deal, we're throwing in a lot of other bonuses because we believe in providing more value to you in a product. We want to overproduce for you. Yeah. That is our heart. So we are throwing in some additional bonuses, some things that, we could charge a lot more money for, but we're wanting to give it away for this pre-sale, just to serve you and say thank you. Thank you for taking the time for your family to do this. And at just a crazy price. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you gain this value, this information? So really, that's our heart. I'm not going to go more into it, but if this has met you on any level and you want that, the link is going to be in the show notes below. It's going to be right there for you. All you got to do is click on it, and we're going to spell out everything. You're going to be able to grab that pre-sale at the ridiculously low price. So, but that way, really, we just want y'all to be on the same page.
I want to speak just to mostly the ladies right now, because I know we process our emotions more like through our words and talking. So there was a time frame where I would be so frustrated with how things were in our house, and I would go to work and I would complain. I would spend my whole lunch hour talking to whoever would listen to me about whatever problems we had going on, and they would give me a listening ear. They would give me some suggestions and this and that. But then I would just go back into the same routine and the same habit, because maybe after a couple days things fizzled down and it's not a problem anymore. And I would never address the actual problem with the person that God gave me as my life partner. And so I just want to speak to you on that. Like, you can keep talking about it, you can keep complaining about it, or you can brush it off and wait till the next time, or actually figure out, okay, what can me and my spouse do to get on the same page? Let me invest in something that's going to create some new habits. Just like if you're going, you're needing a healthier lifestyle because you went to the doctor and the doctor told you have high blood pressure or diabetes or something, you would do what the doctor tells you to do, right? You would go through the process to start making changes. And that's what we want to do. We want to give you some tools that you can start putting into place so that you can make changes and actually see results instead of just complaining about the same thing over and over like I did for so long.
Yeah, we don't believe in big change. Big change is great, but it's impractical. So it is taking these processes with these small steps to where you get the big results. And that's the power within it. Because as I said earlier, so much we want to just fix it all in one day. That's impractical. All that does is set you up for failure. And then you think, well, it's not going to happen. You lose hope. And that's not what we want. That's not what God wants for you and your marriage. He wants you both. He said, as you married, y'all became one. And He wants you to act as one. But the thing is, we don't always know how to do that. So, it's really pouring into who God is in our lives, who God is into our marriage. He is definitely the glue that keeps us together. And then it's putting in these processes that He gives us in all different types of directions. For us, it was through courses, through books, through people, all these things. We just continued reaching out because we saw the importance. We said, you know what, if we don't do something, if we don't take these small changes, we're going to get the same results, and it's going to lead us to divorcing. And then we got another divorce and another heartbreak, and we're dragging our kids through this again, and we didn't want that. We put our foot down and said, enough's enough. We're living in God's blessing because God has called us to be blessed. And so we're going to step into that, and we're going to put in the work. We're going to run our race. And man, we're going to run our race and grab that victory He's called us to. And when we did that, when we just changed our mind on that and how we approached it, power. There was so much power. And even for guys, she was kind of addressing the ladies, but guys, we can be so hard on trying to get help. We can be so hard on trying to learn anything new.
You mean hard as like not wanting to, right?
Trying to figure it out on our own. We don't want to raise the flag saying, hey, there's a problem. We just want to kind of, a lot of times for a lot of us, we just want to kind of ignore it and say, you know what, we're going to figure it out on our own and we're going to fix it. Because guys, we're fixers. We try to fix the problems. And it wasn't until me personally, because I was so hardcore that way, until I learned, it's okay to get help. It's okay to look at these things and to try to gain knowledge and stuff in these areas and to work together with your wife, because whenever you do, there's power in that. Whenever I try to do it on my own, I fall on my own. When I do it together with my spouse, we achieve higher expectations than I ever thought we could.
Or we fall together. Just kidding.
Or we fall together. We're going down on this ship. But yeah, as a guy viewpoint, and ladies, it can be hard to get your guys involved sometimes on things like this. So it is whenever you take that work, it's very attractive to a guy whenever he starts seeing a change in his wife. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then the more you see that change in your wife, then it's more like,
yeah,
hey,
usually she yells at me right there.
What are you doing? So, and then that just pulls y'all together too. So, there's power in many different dynamics, but there's power whenever you move and you say, you know what? I'm not just going to talk about changing. We're going to do it. We're going to step into these blessings. And when you put in that work, you get great results. So, powerful stuff, same page parenting. This was one of the things that would have wrecked our marriage, but it's also one of the things that just greatly brought so much benefit to our marriage once we learned how to come together on this. So,
and our kids are grown, and we are still using this. Like,
yes.
we're still using what we have learned through this.
You think once they turn 18 that all problem goes away with your kids? It doesn't. No. You just have a whole set of new problems. But whenever you know how to talk about it and keep working through it, now you get to approach it in a new, fun way too. So yeah. No, it's really just be encouraged.
And y'all
keep
get in on the
work.
Beginning of this where you can get it half off.
Oh, yeah. This is a big deal. You're going to hear us talking about this until the 29th. You're going to see it on our social media and stuff. We believe so firmly in this. If we don't tell you about it, I'm not able to help. I'm not able to serve you the way that God has called us to serve you. So, we believe in this.
And from someone
our whole heart.
That's a little bit cheap or on budget, the kind of stuff, the fact that you get a half off now, because once this is out there on November 15th, then it's going to be full price.
Yeah, full
Nobody
price.
likes to pay
and
full price.
Yeah, you don't get the bonuses. You won't get some of those bonuses and stuff like that. So we're really trying to make this just a win for you. We want you to have it. We want your family to succeed because we know the power in it. We've seen it in our own family. We've seen it in so many other families. And this is one of the keys, is just learning that healthy communication, is working on that mindset, and then it's being intentional. So those 3 keys we talk about, in any marriage, you can pull those 3 out, and those are the key principles that as a blended family are powerful in our life. So we're kind of walking through that in this issue that we can have that can really, like we said, hurt your marriage, or it can save your marriage. So,
Amen.
So yeah, powerful, good stuff. Listen, we love you. We thank you. We hope this has been a complete blessing for you. Just, man, remember, if you get nothing else, y'all are on the same team. God has called you to be. He's called you to be a blessing. He's called you one. And man, there's power in it when we step into that and we just take those action steps. We take those small steps. You will see the blessings. You will see victory in your family. Y'all will be amazing parents, more effective parents. Because really, as parents, we just get better and better each and every day if we work at it. So,
yes.
And that's the overall
Amen. Goal. I wasn't sure if you're going to start preaching or wrap it up, but
so
good stuff.
Awesome.
Good
we
stuff.
will see y'all on the next one. Enjoy your Monday.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hey, thanks for joining us today for another episode of Enjoying Your Blended Family. All the links we've talked about today, they're in the show notes below. If you've enjoyed listening, be sure to subscribe below. It's free and it lets you know when we have another episode for you to listen to.
And if you want to help us out, leave us a rating and review so that we can keep reaching more people. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment.